This show is brought to you by Go Live TV. Download the app now.
Hi, it's Joe Volpe, publisher of Corriere Canadese, North America's only Italian language daily newspaper, here on behalf of Go Live TV with, it's not necessarily a comment, but it is in part of a seminar, and it has to do with the Demitri file and journalism. So let's go right to it, okay? It appears on page 2 of today's Corriere Canadese. So, the Demitri file, a teachable moment in journalism. Now, Tuesday evening, I was the guest speaker at a conference sponsored by the Toronto Research Library. It's a fabulous building. I think they're going to bring it up in a moment. Topic of the event? Journalism in a disinformation age. The first question in the Q&A period that followed, how can we distinguish between fact or fiction and protect ourselves against the fake news in a digital age? Well, the short answer is we can't. Longer answer, check the facts, be skeptical, and consider the source. What is the author after? Later, in the refuge of my study back home, on reading some Facebook exchanges between a certain Domenico Conte and one journalist, we'll go by his initials, GNB, regarding the Demitri family's almost 6-year struggle to obtain status in Canada, I wished I had had the post to illustrate my answer. Now, I don't know Domenico Conte. GNB is a television journalist for a publicly subsidized TV station. I've met the Demitri, all 6 members of the family, including 2 minors born in Italy and 2 born in Canada. It's important to note that the family entered Canada legally. Now, from the very beginning, they tried to make their stay permanent. They sought and found gainful employment. Their contacts offered them advice and proposed courses of action that took them to the offices of MP Kirsty Duncan, now a minister, former Mayor Rob Ford, now deceased, then Councillor Doug Ford, now Mayor, former Minister Julian Fantino. With the current Liberal government, they've been in contact directly and indirectly with several MPs. The caucus of Italian-Canadian MPs have raised their case with the current Minister of Immigration, Ahmed Hussein. Now, the latter has turned a deaf ear to their case. He refuses to talk with the Corriere Canadese about it, save as to say, this is a removals issue, and therefore it's in Minister Goodale's bailiwick. Now, the office representative of the latter confirms that, no, the Demitri case is one of status, which only the Minister of Immigration, Ahmed Hussein, can give. Now, since their arrival in 2013, Canada has granted status, that's permanent residency, to some 1.5 million new arrivals. But Hussein says there can be no room in Canada for the 6 Demitri. Oh, I'm sorry, 4 of them, because 2 were born here. Well, why not? It may have something to do with the fact that Demitri filed for refugee status, claiming to be fleeing from justice, typically meted out by underworld types against relatives and associates of the pentiti. Those are people who turn state's evidence. Because Mrs. Demitri is a first cousin to a regional clan boss who became just such a pentito. Mr. Demitri worked with a security firm collaborating with police investigators when his cover was blown as a result. Now, the application was unsuccessful. The appeal met with the same result. They filed a humanitarian and compassionate claim. In a 17-page decision, the arbitrator denied them this avenue. He did not interview them. Instead, he set aside a Supreme Court directive to consider the best interests of the children, first and foremost. He also cited a UK, that's United Kingdom, Guardian, it's a newspaper, it's a daily, quite reputable, article on how on law and order in Italy to kind of poo-poo their fears and to justify sending them back. Now, he did not balance his decision with any phone calls to Italy, with references to Italian newspapers, or indeed with, heaven forbid, the Corriere Canadese. Now, those who read the Corriere, and Dominic Conte must apparently be among them, have a difficult time understanding Ahmed Hussein's obduracy given his public statement some 3 weeks ago that Ontario has 130,000 jobs today looking for workers to fill them. To Demitri, he, a technologies expert, she, a lawyer and chef, may be overqualified. But their life seems to be an open book. But not to a chiding GNB, the reporter that I mentioned a moment ago. With a proverbial finger wagging, he asks Conte if he actually read the Refugee Board decision or if he had taken the trouble to check out the identity of the Demitri with Italian police as he, GNB, had done. Or if Conte was aware that the Demitri had never declared that they had received the threats. Someone's lying is the not-so-veiled implication. Could be, but piercing analyses by law enforcement agencies and scrutiny by international news agencies have not put a dent in their story. The only wise move left for them is a direct appeal to the Italian ambassador in Ottawa. GNB says, referencing a sage advice of an MP, unnamed, to which he had become privy. Quote, even if the facts as they had been recounted to Immigration Canada had not been altogether truthful, end of quote. So now we know, according to GNB, that they did lie. If true, why the MP would implicate a foreign government in a decision which rests exclusively in the portfolio and at the discretion of a Canadian minister may be beyond the understanding of mere mortals. It sounds more like scapegoating to a cynic or a skeptic. Now, GMB's post would suggest that he, GMB, is in that latter camp. Quote, the whole affair is rather murky and someone is profiting from it, end of quote, he says. For the Corriere Canadese, the facts under consideration are pretty clear. One, the Demitri are here. 2 children born in Canada. 2, the country needs them, or people like them. 3, both the Refugee Board report and that of the Humanitarian and Compassionate hearing are riddled with holes. Number 4, the minister can correct a wrong with a simple directive. In other words, it's not rocket science. Minister Hussein may indeed be in possession of material that suggests he has reason to believe that the Demitri is a security risk to Canada. Again, there are agencies to protect Canadians against such security threats. These have not been spurred into action. Nor is Hussein sharing the information. One has to wonder whether he has any. And until and unless he does, his obstinacy will be viewed negatively in his own riding and spill over to others, including his leaders. Now, people may well ask why GNB and this station have adopted a line of questioning seemingly designed to divert the public from the facts and painting the minister as a victim. Those are consequences inherent in spreading unfounded and unsubstantiated news. Thank you for following the discussion. And, I encourage you to follow on social media and, of course, in our newspaper, Corriere Canadese. We'll continue with commentary in Italian after these messages.